Y'all can do better than that. You from Utah. Carrying the message.
Can I go home now? My name is Terry. I'm an addict. Proud member of Narcotics Anonymous. And I could never give to Narcotics Anonymous what it's given to me. And you newcomers that picked up the book, I fucking dare you. I dare you to come back next year and celebrate a year with us. All right, and talk about treasuring the gifts. What I would like to have is everybody with 20 years or more, members of Narcotics Anonymous, if you're clean and sober, you need not apply. Stand up. All right. You guys want to come over here and get a chip for decades of recovery? Because you really are the treasures of Narcotics Anonymous. Because they stayed here and they kept the doors open. And they took people through the steps of recovery in Narcotics Anonymous. And I know that the committee's gonna be pissed off at me, but oh well. You know? I grew up in New York City. I got clean in the penitentiary. When I was in jail, they called me Ernest and Julio. Because all I did was make wine, you know, and I got clean there. I got clean 90 days before I got out, you know, and I don't know why I got clean. It was just, I remember we were sitting around and they pulled out a bag of weed and they started rolling joints and they started passing them around, and it came to me and I said, no, I can't. You know, I just can't. You know, for many years in my head, I knew I was an addict. But that day I felt it in my heart. I was getting out soon, and the only thing I ever knew was shooting heroin and running the streets. You know, I was a fucking bum my whole life. And I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know, and the day I got out, I called my friend Kevin. I grew up with Kevin. At 10 years old, we were two terrors. We were robbing parking lots all over parking meters all over New York City. We ran together, shot dope together. He got clean when I was in the joint. And I wrote to him, and when the doors opened up, Kevin and a guy, Joe, were standing there, picked me up. And they took me to get laid. And then they took me to a meeting, and I've been coming ever since. And I remember that first meeting that I went to on the outside. You know, I heard a baby crying, and it's like I hadn't heard a baby cry for a while. You know, and I didn't know how to act. You know, I was just glad I was out. I didn't know how to talk to people. I remember riding the subways in New York City, and I was used to being in the penitentiary. If people bumped into you, they say, "Excuse me." I was riding the subway and some guy pushed me. He was about 1.5 feet over me, and I grabbed him by the throat and I pushed him against the wall. I said, "Don't you say excuse me?" And I'm like, my head goes, "Oh God, you're gonna get locked up again." And the next stop I got off, you know, because I didn't stop to think, I just acted. But there's one thing I didn't want to do, I didn't want to use. You know, and I got clean in that other fellowship, because, we didn't have any place to go. And when I got out, when I had it a 1.5 years clean, I went down to Florida. My aunt was celebrating 25 years in that other fellowship, and in Orlando, and I continued down to Miami. One of my old partners, she was locked up in Florida while I was locked up in New York, and we were writing back to each other, you know, short ice letters, and then I started writing to all the girlfriends, and she got clean, and I got clean. I went down to meet her, and she took me to a meeting of that other fellowship, and after that, she comes to me, she says, "You want to go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting?" And I said, "What the fuck is NA?" I had no clue, you know, because we didn't know about Narcotics Anonymous in New York. And I went to the meeting, and this guy, Paul E., I had a 1.5 years clean, you know, and he says, "You want to speak?" And I was told never to say no. So I spoke at my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting, you know, and yeah, I broke their traditions. And our traditions, you know, I didn't know any, but a lot of us didn't know any better. And I met a guy, Joe, he had 10 years clean at the time. And he, you know, and he just an addict. He shot heroin, and that was it, and never drank. And I had my partner that got arrested too. He was out, or getting out, and I thought, man, this would be great. You know, and people kept saying to me, "You gotta go back to New York and start Narcotics Anonymous," you know. And in my head, I'm saying, these motherfuckers are crazy. You know, at that point, I couldn't walk and chew bubble gum. You know, I was lucky I was staying clean, you know, and because I started to try to get clean in 1969. I didn't get clean until 1979. And I spoke, and, you know, and they kept telling me, "You got to do this," and I'm like, I had no intention of going back to New York City and starting anything. You know, at that point, I had no self-esteem. You know, I would walk down the street, and the only thing I could look at was the cracks in the sidewalk, because that's where my self-esteem was at. And then I went back, and I went to this meeting, and this old fuck in that other fellowship started bitching about these drug addicts who are at our meetings. They don't fucking belong, blah, 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 blah. And I raised my hand, I says, "I fucking don't know how, and I don't care. I'm gonna start the first meeting in Narcotics Anonymous in New York City." And I had a little literature. I went back, and, you know, when I got back there, and we had a meeting. It was called Both Sides of the Coin, and another fellowship, and they were looking for a meeting space. They asked me to look, and I went to the church across the street from my house, and they said, yeah, and by the time I got back, they found a place. So I went to this Father Valero, now he's Bishop Valero. I said, "Could I start a Narcotics Anonymous meeting?" He said, "Yeah, Terry, whatever you want." In our first meeting, we had like 13 people, you know, and it grew. And at the time, I was the alcohol counselor in a methadone clinic. What a joke that was. But there was another guy working there. He was a counselor. He went to the other fellowship. He says, "They started an NA meeting, you know, up in the Bronx." I said, "Where?" And it took me about like 3 weeks to find out where it was. And there was like maybe 14 of us going to that one meeting. And I said, "Hey, we got to go up there." and we got like 3 carloads, and like we busted into this meeting. We said, hey, this guy Henry M., which started the meeting in the Bronx, I said, what's the name of your group? He said, Narcotics Anonymous. I said, no, man, you gotta get a fucking name for this. We're gonna have these all over the city. He looked at me like I was out of my fucking mind, which I was at the time. And he thought his meeting and one other meeting in California were the only 2 Narcotics Anonymous meetings on this planet. And we started it, you know, and like, word went out, and like, at this time we had about 4 meetings, and I was writing to the World Service Office for literature, and they're sending me 7 IPs, a white book, and a starter kit, and we got like 4 meetings going. So I wrote them back. I said, to whom it may concern. It'd be easier for me to get an ounce of pure heroin from my old connection than it would be to get literature from you fucking people. In loving service, Terry R. And if you don't like it, I'll meet you at the 11th World Convention in Miami. We can talk about it in the parking lot. So, about a week later, I'm at home, and phone rings. I pick it up. Terry Ryan? I says, yeah. He says, you don't know me. He said, my name is Jimmy Kennan. I'm the manager of the World Service Office. And since we got your letter, we know Narcotics Anonymous is going to thrive and flourish in New York City. We just sent you $500 worth of literature. Pay us when you can. That wouldn't fucking happen today. You got a credit card? And that started a beautiful friendship with Jimmy. He became my teacher. You know, and I would call up Jimmy and ask him questions. And I really loved that man. He talked a lot. Sometimes I had to say, Jimmy, shut the fuck up. Yeah, but I remember calling him one day, and I was out of my fucking mind. I want to kill somebody, and it was some kind of tradition violation, something. And I'm rambling to Jimmy, and you know, he just stopped and says, well, Terry, sometimes you just gotta watch the cartoons. And for 29 years, I've been watching the cartoons of Narcotics Anonymous, and they're better than fucking Looney Tunes. You know, it's great, you know, you see newcomers chasing each other to get laid at conventions. Then you see the predators, the old timers, you know. Hey, if you're new and somebody with time wants to go to bed with you, tell them to go fuck themselves. And also what you gotta do, you gotta find out who they are, and you point out to the newcomer, see that motherfucker, stay away from him. Because we gotta protect our brothers and sisters in recovery, you know? And fuck the dogs, you know? If they want to prey on our newcomers, they got to pay the price. Let them know who they are. You know, an area service. Hey, so-and-so, if he comes to your group, he's looking to screw the newcomers. You know? Why not? Why not, man? You know, because they're a bloodline, you know, and they should be treated with respect and dignity. You know? And if you're new and you meet one of these old timers, you know, they start talking down to you, just ask them, how much time you got? And when they blow up their chest, say 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it is, tell them, I hope I ain't as fucked up as you when I get that much time. Because that's the spiritual part of this program, one addict helping another. You know, I've been all over the United States. I've lived in like 6 different states, and I got there chasing a power greater than myself, women. That's how I lived in Connecticut for 2 years. That's how I got here. You know, that's how I got to California, Florida, Pennsylvania, Utah. You know, it's just, I was looking to fall in love, man. You know, we all want to fall in love. But, you know, I found out, like, it wasn't until I got healthy in a spiritual way, incorporating the steps in my life, that I attracted a better quality of woman. You know? Because before that, I would fall in love with every dead lesbian movie star that walked in the room. Because that's how available they were. You know, and I love Narcotics Anonymous, man. You know, Jesus. I've been married twice in recovery. You know, my second wife was a doctor of Oriental medicine. She was crazy as a shithouse rat. I went to counseling to try and save our marriage for about 1.5 years. And it kind of didn't work. And one day the marriage counselor said, I suggest you separate for a while. The next morning, she had an apartment. You know, I said, fuck it, that's it. You know, and while I was going through that and all that pain, and I was in a lot of pain, because I really want to make this work, because you people in Narcotics Anonymous told me I had to stick it out. I had to show up, suit up, and be there. And I did everything I could to try to work that out. It just didn't work. And when it was going on, I had friends in Florida, New York. Terry, if you want to come on down here, you know, if you don't have any money, we'll send you an airplane ticket, you know. And I told him, no, I can't do that. I got to do this, you know. And I got a divorce, and I kept going on, and about 1 year later, they asked me to do an H&I learning day in Utah. You know, because that's I've been doing H&I since I've been getting clean, you know. And I've done PI too, you know, but it's really important that we carry that message. And I'm gonna get off track, I always do. I'm half out of my mind anyway, so what the hell. You know, there's a lot of people that don't do service in Narcotics Anonymous. And you motherfuckers are shoplifting. Yeah, it's time you get into those committee meetings and, do some H&I, PI, start sponsoring people, because the newcomers need you, especially now. Even though we've grown large, there's a lot of bad things going on in Narcotics Anonymous. Our traditions are being violated by the World Board. They're having groups sign court cards, which is a violation of tradition. They lost what? Almost $600,000 at our last World Convention. And my feeling is like areas and regions should start taking care of their own backyard. There's a thing called the NA, an intellectual trust. It says that we can print our own literature as long as we don't sell it. If the groups donate to the area or region, the region and area can take that literature and copy exactly how it is, as long as they give it away to the groups, to area, to H&I. And with the money that's left over, maybe you can put some billboards up. Because when I got here, I asked to go to a meeting, because I love to go to meetings, and we were riding through the ghetto, and there's like 2 big billboards. How'd you like to see fucking Narcotics Anonymous up there? With the helpline. A guy comes out from company, looks up, oh shit. Start taking care of our own backyard. We're so indoctrinated to send the money on. Keep it home. Let's take care of our newcomers. Public information, man, do some goddamn work in emergency rooms. Give them a presentation. And leave about 400 envelopes with about 5 IPs in each one and a meeting schedule. And when a son of a bitch comes out of an overdose, he'll be laying on his chest. Or have them stick it in their pocket, man. Take care of what we have in your area and regions. Give back. That's what we gotta do. Fuck giving it to California. I've been here a long time and I've seen some devious shit. Yeah, fuck you, John. And things have to change, and that's just my vision, that areas and regions start printing their own literature because we can, and we can take care of our own backyard. But getting back to Utah, I went there to do an H&I Learning Day, and I showed up and I thought I was gonna go in a hotel. They stuck me in a fucking tent. Rained all night, I got soaked. So I did the H&I Learning Day, and then there was a dance afterwards, and God was working in my life. I seen this, I was in a pavilion and there was a woman dancing with this kid in a wheelchair. And it fucking moved me. And then when the dance stopped, they had them boxed in with these tables. And she just came and pushed those fucking tables out of the way. I'm like looking at it, and I was like, wow. So the dance is going on, and I didn't notice the time. I'm talking to one of her sponsees, and she comes over to her sponsee. Do you mind if I borrow him? She says, no. She says, you want to dance? I said, yeah, okay. So when we're dancing, I said, why'd you ask me to dance? She says, you're safe. I said, you're out of your fucking mind. So that started with a beautiful relationship. The woman I married, the woman I love, the woman of my dreams. She got 24 years in Narcotics Anonymous, and I have a family now. I have stepkids. I have a daughter's like 26, and my stepson is in a wheelchair, he's 25. And after living with them for about a year, they called me into the living room. We want, sit down, Terry. I said, what do you want? Just sit down. I sit down, and they told me, as far as they were concerned, I was their real dad. You know, and I was one of the biggest fucking bums on this planet. You know, and it just blew me away. And my son in a wheelchair, he says I'm his positive male role model. You know, he's a little con artist, but you know, I love him. And that's some of the gifts I got in Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I reaped the rewards from incorporating the steps in my life and learning how to be a human being and learning how to love other people and let them do their own thing. You know, because when I moved in there, I didn't try and be, you know, daddy, you know. I just let my wife do all the whatever she had to do, and I loved the kids. And then, you know, my daughter would ask me to, for advice, you know. And I was just over my daughter's house, she's married, and it was the first time having anybody over the house, you know, entertaining, and she was all nervous and shit, and when it was all done, I grabbed her, I hugged her, I says, I love you, and I'm very proud of you. When I was a kid, nobody ever told me they loved me. Nobody ever told me they were proud of me. You know, it's just shut up. You know, children to be seen and not heard. You know? And when I was a kid, I hated my father. I really did, man. And I remember when I was a kid fantasizing when he was sleeping, pouring gas on him and lighting him on fire. And that's how much I hated the man. But then after I got clean, I found that it wasn't his fault that I shot heroin. It wasn't his fault that I was a drug addict. It was my fault. I chose this lifestyle. I chose to be who I was. And after I got out, I became friends with my father. You gotta understand, my father was like Archie Bunker. You know, the poor man, I put him through hell. You know, I'd come over the house, he'd be watching football. I'd be so loaded on methadone, I'd fall out on the couch and they'd have to call the ambulance. I'd overdose in his house, you know. When I was 16, he had to kick down the door of the bathroom, and there I was laying with a spike in my arm, you know, and I put this man through hell. And after I got clean, we became friends. You know, I remember the first time I hugged him, I thought he was gonna die. He had this look in his face like I was gonna kill him or something. I hugged him. And then my father started to like being hugged. You know, because he came from the same background. Mine, there was no affection in our family, you know, and my mother had a nervous breakdown, and my father called me. He says, I don't know what to do. And, you know, like I said, my father was like Archie Bunker, and I looked at him, and I'm thinking, he ain't gonna go for this shit. I said, how about therapy? He looks at me, he says, okay. And I had a friend that was a nun, and that was her job, referring people. And my father started going to therapy. And after 5 years, he was a different man, you know. And for me, I used to make amends to him. They moved down Florida, and I would go down to visit. And my father would tell these stories over and over and over again. And I would stay up until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, listen to these stories over and over and over again. You know, that was my amends. Sitting there and listening to him. My older brother Kevin, he'd come over the house. He said, what the fuck are you doing? Staying up with the old man, listening to those crazy fucking stories. What's wrong with you? And I just, you know, but my father needed somebody to sit there and just listen to him, you know? And after my second wedding, I got back from my honeymoon and I got the information my father died. You know, he died of a heart attack, died in his sleep, but through the steps of Narcotics Anonymous and making amends, I had no regrets. You know, I loved that man. He loved me. You know, you taught me how to amend my relationships with other people. I paid back. You know, he died happy. You know, I lost my mother 2 years ago. Same thing. I was with my mom when she died, and I got there. I said, "Mom, you're tired. Go." I says, "I'm okay. My brother Dennis is okay." Kevin, I said, "Mom, go." You know, so I was able to be there when my mom took her last breath. You know, my amends, the show for my family. You know, instead of running down the block with their fucking TV. You know, I have you people thank me for this. I have the wonderful Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous that teach me how to be a human being, how to be a man, how to show up. You know, I have relationships today that I would never give up. You know, I would never get high again. You know, I would never want to disappoint them. I wouldn't want to live the way I lived, strung out like a fucking research monkey. You know, no dignity, no self-respect, you know. Hell to me would be using every fucking day, not going to detox, not getting locked up, no rest for the rest of my life. I don't want that. You know, I want what you have. And newcomers, if you want what these people have, get your ass to meetings, keep coming back, get yourself a sponsor. You know, get somebody that walks the walk, the one that'll help you, will answer your phone calls at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. And newcomers, if you call somebody up and like you want to get high, and they say, "Do you know what time it is?" Tell them to go fuck themselves. Give them a resentment. Let them go talk to their fucking sponsor. And call somebody that cares. Because newcomers, someday it's going to be your responsibility to answer those phone calls at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's what your sponsor is going to teach you how to do, how to show up. He's going to teach you, when you got enough time, how to work the steps. And not only that, what I think is important, our guiding documents, our traditions, our guide to local service, our concepts. Not only bring your sponsees through the steps, you bring them through traditions, the guide to local service. This way, when they show up for a business meeting and you get one of those old timers, well, we've been doing this way for 20 years, you know? Newcomer, pull out the guide to local service. Says here, "Motherfucker, you're wrong." It states in our literature, you can't endorse outside enterprises. You know? It states that there's 6 points to an NA meeting. And if an NA meeting doesn't cover those 6 points, they're not a fucking NA meeting. You know? Because we need a place where we carry a clear, concise message of Narcotics Anonymous. You know? That other fellowship, you know, it's similar to ours, but we're very different. Because addicts Well, I'll start it this way. Alcoholics end up in alleys. We start in fucking alleys. You know, it's just like we're more active people. We rob houses, banks, we turn tricks, we sell dope, you know. If somebody died of an overdose, you want to know where they copped. You know. So you have to teach the newcomers the concepts, the traditions, the guide to local service, so they can tell some old timers, motherfucker, you're wrong. And I learned that from, like I said, Jimmy Kennan was my teacher, my friend, my mentor. There was another guy who was my inspiration. His name was Jack Whaley. And I got that from him. He used to say, I go to meetings and I'd listen. I go home and read the book. And I go back to the meeting next night. In my spiritual way, I tell them, motherfucker, you're wrong. You know? We gotta protect our fellowship, man. You know, and I talked about drug court. Hey, we're not here to get a get out of free card. You know? We're here to save lives. You know, there's some small meetings across the country where they have 5 home group members, then all of a sudden they got 30 drug court people. There's no atmosphere of recovery. You know, they take over the meetings. You know, you have to have a desire. I have nothing against anybody coming to our meetings, but I don't think we should force members to come. We shouldn't take attendance. You know, if you want to come, come of your own free will. Fuck your parole officer. You know? Can't stay clean, go to jail. You know? And if they want to find out if they're doing bad, piss test the motherfucker. Spend a little money. You know? It's like the world board is pimping us out to the treatment centers and the drug courts. You know, every addict deserves a place to go. We're open. But we're not supposed to put money in their pockets. That's an outside issue. You know, I love addicts. I love newcomers. Sometimes I'd rather hang out with newcomers than old timers. You know, because I'm a little crazy. I admit that. Fuck it. You know? I'm still in service. I'm still in the trenches. I ain't shoplifting. You know, and if you're shoplifting, get your fucking act together, man. Show some gratitude. You know, I hate these motherfuckers that come in here. They get theirs. It's like, fuck you. I got mine. And another thing pisses me off, old timers that show up once a year to get a coin. No, I ain't shutting up. You know? Thing is, you should tell them, listen, you're not a home group member and we ain't giving you a coin. We don't care how much time you got. You better come here 90 and 90 in Narcotics Anonymous, man. Fuck you. You know, I get pissed off. I do 2 H&I meetings a week in 2 different counties. You know, I'm the area H&I chair. I'm the program chair of our convention. You know, and I've been the program chair for 7 years. They keep electing me. It's because I get old timers that have a message of recovery. No fucking circuit speakers. You know, need not apply. We don't want to hear your shit. You know, don't like screamers. You know. Amen, brother. we want people that the newcomers can learn something from. You know? I get an old time, I gotta break their balls to come and speak, you know, but they come. You know, and we have to teach our newcomers. And newcomers, respect your old timers. Unless they're assholes, tell them to go fuck themselves. No matter where you go, you got an asshole. You go to church, there's an asshole. You go to jail, there's a couple of more assholes. You know, you go to work, you know, there's always one around, you know, and it's just like... And if you want to stay clean, you got some time, you're going through some problems, keep a newcomer in your hip pocket. You ain't going to get loaded taking somebody to meetings. You know, and teach them the principles of our fellowship. Teach them the love. Point out the people they should stay away from. You know? And put some fucking money in the basket. Oh yeah, you know, you see the guys riding up in their Lexus or their Mercedes. They got a big ass fucking bumper sticker, IONA. They come in with a fucking triple shot butterscotch fucking latte. Pontificate long shit. Take up half the fucking meeting. The basket comes around, they say, oh, here's $1. Cheap motherfucker. What's your recovery worth? If you went out and got loaded, you'd be spending $300-400 at the first clip, man. You know? I love narcotics. I love doing H&I meetings. I love being in service. You know, and I love people that recover. You know, to me, my hobbies, I refinish antiques. I get these beat up pieces of shit with 4 coats of paint on them. It's like a newcomer. You know, you take all that paint off them. You work hard. Put everything you got into it. Then like all of a sudden you see that grain of that wood starting to come up. And shine, and you shellac it, and it's like almost new, and you get that brilliance about it. And then the newcomers, you see them, they get that dip in their walk, and they're proud. And, you know, and they want to make coffee. You know, they want to be the literature person at the meeting. You know, they want to be the secretary. Then the secondary phase of the disease shows up, big shot-itis. I want to be the president of Narcotics Anonymous. I want to be the chairman of the committee. I want to tell all you guys what to do. You know, and it's just part of the beast. You know, we all have to learn it. We all have control issues. Jesus Christ. A bunch of craziest motherfuckers on this planet, addicts. You know? And you know, God's in charge of this. You know? The program chair last night, she wasn't there on time, or somebody else's time to bring the readings, and they were all crazy. She got there with the readings on time, the meeting went on. You know, people are fucking nuts. You know, lighten the fuck up. I have to make an amends to the committee. Yesterday I grabbed one of the radios and I ain't wrapped that tight. I pressed the button, I said, hey, there's two newcomers fucking in a room down here on the 2nd floor. And they say, what room is it? I didn't know any names for the room. I said, it's the ballroom. And about 4 of them come running up, man. Like I'm the banquet speaker, they can't really yell at me. Don't do that. I'm sorry. We gotta have fun in recovery, man. We gotta laugh. Hey, I take my recovery seriously. Life, I really don't. You know, when I was a kid, there was a house, they were renovating it, and there was a plumber in there. And I was always curious, and I went in there and I started talking to him, and he'd give me like $10 to go for lunch. You know, and I go get him lunch, he'd buy me lunch, and I keep the change, I like that. So I kept coming back. You know, and I was really amazed what he was doing, you know. I said, wow, man, this is cool. And I always wanted to be a plumber. My mother wanted me to be an electrician like my fucked up Uncle Danny. My father wanted me to be an executive at his company, Railway Express. I wanted to be a plumber. But a bag of heroin got in my way. You know, and it wasn't until I got clean and I moved to Los Angeles, you know, I became a plumber. You know, I went to school with kids 25 years younger than me. You know, they started calling me Pop. I said, yeah, I'll pop you, you little motherfucker. You know? And I got my state contractor's license, journeyman plumber, master plumber. That's what I do. I'm a plumber today. Because you told me to go for my dreams. And I went for my dreams. I love what I do. I'm 61 years old. I got 2 knee replacements. They're telling me I need a fucking hip replacement. You know, I'm gonna have titanium and everything but my, you know what, in a couple of years. And I still go to work, man. You know, I got a wonderful wife through the Fellowship of Narcotics. Sometimes she got better recovery than me. You know, she just looks at me sometimes and shakes her head like, you know. The other night we were watching TV, this is a true story, you know, because she thinks I ain't wrapped too tight, and I'm probably not, you know. And it was about a guy, he was riding around shooting people with a shotgun out of a window, and I was fucking laughing, you know, I thought it was hysterical. So when it's over, my wife looks over at me, she says, do me a favor? I said, what? Promise me you won't do that when you get older. You know, my son in a wheelchair, he's threatened to put me in a care center. I said, they ain't gonna hold me in a care center. I said, you're gonna have to take care of me. You better get a good job, and you're gonna have to take care of me, you little son of a bitch, you know. Then I talk shit to him, and he talks back, and that's our relationship, you know. And I love that kid. You know, I've done things for him I would never do for anybody else in my life. You know, as far as I'm concerned, he's my son. And at the end of the month, we're taking him to Tennessee for some alternative medicine, and I hope it works. You know, I don't care, I'll spend as much money as I can on this kid. You know, because he's a good human being. He's been around Narcotics Anonymous since he's been born. And he's in a wheelchair, and they had him, he has to take painkillers. And they had him on Oxycontin. And he got to the point where he said, fuck this. He detoxed from the Oxycontin. You know, and I was there to help him through it, explain what was going on, because I did it a lot of times. And after he got through with it, he looked at me, he said, I can't believe you fucking people do this all the time. He says, you gotta be the dumbest motherfuckers on this planet. Yeah? And a lot of times when my wife is crazy, he'll 12-step her, you know, calm her down. You know, and when I first moved there, you know, my wife every so I get these looks on my face, you know, and she'll look at me, what's wrong? There ain't nothing wrong. I'm probably thinking about, you know, going to work or something. And one day she came, she said, I'm afraid you're gonna leave me. Leave you? I said, I just bought an $1,800 commercial table, so I put it in the garage. I ain't going nowhere. You know. And I was taught how to communicate in Narcotics Anonymous with my wife. You know, when it gets bad, she'll email me. And I'll email her back. You know, we don't argue. Once in a while I go crazy, you know, and I learned that from you people. I learned how to open my heart. Yeah, I learned how to love. I learned how to care. That's what the 12 steps will do for you. So you don't have to go back down to the newcomers and be strung out like research monkeys. You know, because I'm here to fuck up your using. Because when you're back out there, sucking on that glass dick, shooting dope, and when the dope runs out and you're talking to the person next to you about Narcotics Anonymous and they want to get the fuck away from you, you know, you'll think about me or the guys that carry the message to you in an H&I meeting. You know, there's hope. You know, our convention next year, the theme is I believe, N.A. You know, and I believe in N.A. And I believe in everybody in this room. You know, we're all special. We all have our niche in Narcotics Anonymous. Some of us can't do H&I and PI, but we can sponsor people. You can hug somebody when they come into an NA meeting. You can point out who the predators are. That's a real important one. You know, a big shot in Narcotics Anonymous is somebody who traveled 4,000 miles to speak at a convention, but won't walk across the street, take a newcomer for a cup of coffee. You know? You know, I admire so many people. Jimmy Cannon, you know, he was my hero. Jack Whaley was my hero. My friend Jeanette, she died, she had 38 years clean. She was like my NA mom, you know. When I lived in Los Angeles, I'd go over to the house and she'd make me coffee and cookies or pie. We'd sit there and she'd tell how crazy her husband was, and his name was Pepe. And she used to tell me, you're incorrigible. And stay the fuck away from my newcomer, my sponsees, you know. And she died, and I miss her. And I've seen a lot of my friends die, but they died clean. You know, a fantasy of mine is like, when I'm 80 years old, they'll bring a newcomer in, they'll say, you want to know about Narcotics Anonymous? Go talk to that crazy old fuck in the corner. You know, because I want to die clean. I want to die clean. You know, it's amazing what we get, you know. It's just, today I'm not afraid that I can't pay bills. I know as long as I stay clean and do the right thing, money's going to come. Grandfather's going to take care of me. You know, because Narcotics Anonymous taught me to live in a good way. You know, to surrender, to live, you know. That old man, Jimmy, just before he died, he called me up and he was saying his goodbyes. you know, he's saying, Terry, I'm sorry we don't have more time to spend together, and we were on the phone for about an hour or so. And I got off the phone, I was so fucked up, man, you know, I was a tough guy. And I was walking around, and I was just fucking sobbing, you know? I was losing, you know, somebody I met almost as much as my father. And I bought a ticket, you know, like back then you bought a ticket 30 days in advance. You know, I bought a ticket to go out and see him. And I was fucked up and I was walking around, I was crying. My girlfriend looked at me, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, and I told her, and then I said, fuck this. I got on the phone, I called, Jimmy. I said, fuck you, I'm coming. You ain't gonna die, I'm coming to see you. You know, and by the time the time came, Jimmy died, and I was able to go to his services. You know, and we gave him a sending off, they cremated him. You know, that man was special. He's special to every one of us. You know, in a lot of areas and regions, Jimmy helped. Like he gave us $500 worth of literature on the cuff. He did that for a lot of areas and regions. And when they threw him the fuck out of the office, all those areas and regions still owed him money. And then Bob Stone did an inventory and they said he was stealing. You know, some people said he was a senile old man, you know, all this bullshit. Because Jimmy, I could call him up and not talk to him for 3 months. He'd pick up the phone and pick up the conversation where we left it off. You know, and when he was a kid, he didn't trust anybody. See, he memorized the dictionary because he wanted to know what people were saying to him. He didn't trust nobody, you know? And they locked him out of the office, and they didn't even tell him. He showed up with his keys, the locks were changed. There was a lot of political bullshit, man. And the people who did that to him never made amends to his wife, Betty. Never made amends to Narcotics Anonymous, what they did. You know, and Bob Stone, he was the manager of the World Service after Jimmy, and they threw him out the same way. You know, we can't throw people away like they're trash. You know, especially when they spend a lot of time and help this fellowship. That's why I gave those key tags to the old timers, the jewels of the fellowship. Treat them with respect. Especially you motherfuckers got 3 and 5 years and think you know everything. You know, get up in old timers' faces, you don't know shit. Nah, they've been here for 25 years, you've been here for 3, you know everything. Get the fuck out of here. Or if you got sponsees, you know, they're not doing H&I or anything for the group, you know, they go home and stand in front of the mirror and practice. So they can get the number 2 spot or the number 1 spot at the speaker jam. Slap that motherfucker in the head. Take him to an H&I meeting or a PI and put his ass to work, man. You know, you gotta earn your seat in Narcotics Anonymous. You gotta help people. You know, and if you're shoplifting, fuck you. I don't respect you. And we can't have any of these unclear messages in Narcotics Anonymous. You know, because, you know something, we fought hard to get where we are. So we'd have a clear, concise message in Narcotics Anonymous. So we would grow, so we wouldn't need anything else. I don't need anything else. Do I look like a fucking grape? I don't belong in Alcoholics now. When I went there, they didn't fucking want me. You know, I was an addict. You know, like I was the fucking devil. You know, when I was there and they'd have me speak, after I got down, they'd say, "Oh, you're one of those." I found Narcotics Anonymous and I became one of us. I found a home. I found people who love me, care for me, speak to me like I was a human being, you know? Another thing we don't do anymore, we don't do any 12-step work. You know, helplines, they don't send people out to pick people up to go to meetings. Fuck that, man. We used to put people on our couches. Now the World Service Office wants to turn everybody over to treatment centers and drug court. You know? I love going on 12-step calls, man. Taking guys and put them in hospitals and detoxes. That's what we did. They don't do it anymore. I call them, I say, how come you don't do it? Oh, we might get sued. Fucking Narcotics Anonymous ain't got shit. What the fuck are we gonna get sued for? You know? Just like in New York, they said Narcotics Anonymous didn't get to New York because of the Rockefeller laws. We didn't give a fuck about the Rockefeller laws. We didn't give a fuck about them when we were getting high, and when we got clean, we didn't give a fuck about them then either. We started meetings. You know, they said addicts couldn't congregate. Fuck you. You know, we can do anything. You know? The most important thing in this fellowship is the members. The second is the home group. We've lost group conscience in Narcotics Anonymous. They send us out the car and give us a couple of fucking bullshit motions that we vote on, and you fucking think you're doing something. Then at the World Service Conference, they amend them and they change them. You know. Professionals didn't start Narcotics Anonymous. You know. When we started, a bunch of ragtag motherfuckers. You know. We didn't want to use anymore. You know. Some of your predecessors, Danny Sullivan, Shirley, she started the first meeting in Narcotics Anonymous, like 1979 in Connecticut. You know, and I was lucky, I made friends with people who started meetings in Ireland. My friend Olivia, she started the first meeting in Dublin, Ireland. She died using. My friend Mona started the first meeting in Israel. She died using. So we don't know who's gonna make it. You know, you don't know the person next to you might not be here next week or next year. You know, we gotta love each other, we gotta protect each other, we gotta protect our fellowship. You know, you gotta take care of home before you send money onto the World Service Office. You know, fuck them. I'm sorry. If I offend anybody or piss you off, go talk to your fucking sponsor. Because I love Narcotics Anonymous, and I got the same enthusiasm for Narcotics Anonymous as I did when I first got clean. Because I want to stay clean. I want to see you get clean. Newcomers, everybody. I want to see you be happy. I want to be happy, joyous, and free. And that's what fucking Narcotics Anonymous is about. Thank you.